Well, they've been replaced by modern-day characters like Rambo and He-Man. What's cool this year in Halloween costumes?
Madonna, Chuck Norris, Minnie Mouse.
As you can see, everyone has their own opinion, but it seems that cartoon characters, superheroes, and rock stars are the most popular costumes for today's trick-or-treaters.
If you grew up in the 70s or 80s, then you probably at one time wore a Halloween costume made by Ben Cooper Incorporated. The company was the leading Halloween costume seller for kids and held the license to almost all the popular characters. If your costume was based on a television show, a movie, a singer, or even a video game, chances are it was made by Ben Cooper. They would hit stores around mid-September each year, coming in a cake box with a window on the front that showed the mask inside. Along with the mask would come a vinyl smock that most of the time showed a picture of the character and the name. There's no way a kid could avoid a Ben Cooper costume. Even if you didn't have one, your friends did.
Then finally, third year, begging the parents, got the Superman Halloween costume, not surprisingly. Cardboard box, cellophane top, mask included. Remember the rubber band on the back of that mask? That was a quality item there, wasn't it? That was good for about 10 seconds before it snapped out of that cheap little staple they put it in there with. You go to your first house, trick or snap, it broke, I don't believe it.
Ben Cooper was born on the Lower East Side of New York City in 1906. In 1927, he opened up a theatrical costume business. There he would design costumes and sets for the famous Cotton Club in Harlem. However, when the Great Depression hit in the 1930s, live theater shows started to dry up, but Halloween was becoming more popular than ever. So in 1937, with the help of his brother, Ben reset his career path and started up Ben Cooper Incorporated. The first task was buying up control of A.S. Fishbach, a Halloween costume company that had the rights to the Disney characters of the 1930s. At this time, they were still selling the costumes under the Fishbach name until 1942, when the two companies were merged under the name Ben Cooper Inc. By the late 40s, the company was one of the largest Halloween costume manufacturers in the United States. The company would sell lots of their costumes through retailers such as JCPenney, Sears, Woolworths, and local 5 and dime shop. The costumes would cost around $1.25. That's equal to about $14 today. Even if the company did have the rights to the Disney characters, the traditional Halloween costumes were still their biggest sellers: ghosts, devils, skeletons, and witches. But by the mid-1950s, things were starting to change as TV characters were becoming more popular. David Crockett, Superman, and Zorro were now outselling the traditional costumes.
Do you remember this? This is an obscure one, but on the side of the box, I remember this on my Superman costume, it actually said, "Do not attempt to fly." They printed that as a warning, because kids were putting it on and going off the roofs. You know.
For Halloween 1963, the company decided to try something new, and they put a lot of their money into making a Halloween costume based on John F. Kennedy and First Lady Jackie Kennedy. They figured this would be a huge hit for adults. However, the company had to pull the plans and destroy over thousands of costumes after John F. Kennedy was assassinated. By the late 1960s, the company was buying up the rights to almost anything they could, even if it wasn't very popular, just so the rival companies wouldn't have the rights. They were also able to get them out to the stores quickly, beating the other companies by weeks. In 1963, they bought the rights to Spider-Man, a character world famous today, but back then, few outside the comic book world knew. In the 1970s, the company would pick up more movie rights, and in 1979, they even bought the rights to an R-rated film, Alien. However, in the 1980s was the start of the decline for Ben Cooper Inc. The first hit in sales came in 1982 when 7 people died after someone tampered with bottles of Tylenol. Terrified parents nationwide refused to allow kids to dress up and get candy from strangers in the neighborhood. This was the company's first year in declining sales, a trend that would continue until 1987 when they finally started to see a spike in sales.
So I'm going out, I'm trick-or-treating, but the mask, the rubber band keeps breaking, it keeps getting shorter. I'm fixing it, it's getting tighter and tighter on my face. You know when it starts slicing into your eyeballs there and you're trying to breathe through that little hole? It's getting all sweaty. I can't see, I can't breathe, we gotta keep going, we gotta get the candy. And a half hour into it, you just take that mask. Oh, the hell with it! Bing bong, yeah, it's me. Give me that candy.
Sadly, the increased sales in the late 80s were not enough, and Ben Cooper Inc. filed for bankruptcy in 1988. That year, the company would lose many of its license deals to rival company Collegeville. In 1989, the company's profit fell below 10%. Earlier that year, their office burned down, causing them to lose close to $3 million in inventory. Both insurance companies under Ben Cooper Inc. canceled their coverage and refused to pay the insurance policy. The company was able to get out of bankruptcy by the end of 1989 and had paid off all the creditors in full. In 1991, the company won its battle with both insurance companies and planned to move the company to Greensboro, North Carolina. At this time, they still had about 75% of the licensed costume characters being sold for Halloween, but they hoped to invest $6 million in their new building and provide jobs to low-income workers in the area. On October 30th, a day before Halloween in 1991, the company filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy once again, this time saying the relocation expenses and the early 90s recession was the reason. In 1992, Ben Cooper Inc. was bought by Ruby Costume Company, and the name was dissolved. In 2017, Ben Cooper's nephew bought back the name. That same year, a Ben Cooper website was launched. However, now it just redirects to Party City, and the official Ben Cooper social media accounts have not been active since 2017. Sadly, the much-loved Halloween costumes in a cake box have yet to return. That's the look at the rise and fall of the Ben Cooper Halloween costumes. I'm sure you had one. Tell me which ones you had in the comments below. And as always, please subscribe to the channel, thumb up so I know you like my content, and I'll be back again soon.
Junkman.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.